Hello everybody. Chinese New Year just came and left, and I was supposed to do a family recipe from my ancestors that came from a part of China called Kien-Yang. So I'm going to do that today, a quick version of that, and it's a noodle dish. I'm going to show you how it's called, how it's done. It's Kien-Yang noodles. So we have the stove, right? Use a big pot because it's all in one. The noodles will be cooked with the sauce together, all right? So turn on the heat, as big a pot as you can get. This is just vegetable oil, right? It's a big serving, so I'm using quite a bit of oil. Swirl that around. So it's a very simple recipe, but you do have to get some things right. Tons of garlic. Yeah, we're back to tons of garlic. It's a Chinese dish, so I'm using a Chinese cleaver today. Not my usual Japanese knife. We basically want to cook down the garlic. Okay. Dishes that are stews, I usually like to start with a cold pan, and then kind of work your way up, because then you get actually more flavor into the oil versus just browning garlic off, which you can do for stir fries, but not so much for stews. So you can hear it sizzling already, right? And one of the ingredients that you do have to have for this dish is this. It's a lily flower. It's dried, so you soak it in water until you see it's pretty soft, right? And I'm just gonna drain it out. Drain it out, right? We have some dirt, whatever it is, but we just want to drain it out. And we're actually going to put it into the pot as well. Okay? Now, I will admit, my family members are going to be killing me now because I'm supposed to tie these into a knot so it looks pretty, but it'll add half an hour to your prep time, tying these knots. So I'm not going to do it. It doesn't make any difference to the taste. So I'm just going to add it in together. Cook it together. Now, chicken. You want in bone-in chicken, and you want to cut it open because you actually want to expose the marrow. Okay? So get bone-in chicken. You can use duck, any kind of chicken or poultry. Some people even use pork. It's a village dish, so it was very much what they had at the time. Whatever protein was available. So you basically want to just cook everything together until it starts smelling good and the outside of the protein is a little cooked off. Starts turning opaque. Heat's on high, because I do want to develop the flavors. It's a super simple recipe, but it's very hearty, and well, I grew up eating this, so it certainly has a place in my heart. Alright, so you also need mushrooms. Use any mushroom you can get. We had some leftover shiitake mushrooms, right? I'm actually going to throw in the stem as well because we want the flavor. You can always pick it up later. And I'm just going to cut it into slices, right? We pick out the stem so we can eat it, take it out later. Okay, the small ones are fine. These are actually fresh shiitake mushrooms. If you have dried, that's fine. Fresh, dried, whatever you can get. I'm actually going to use several different kinds of mushrooms, right? We have some oyster mushrooms. And why am I using them? Because they were on sale and they were cheap and they were fresh. So, oyster mushrooms, one of my favorite mushrooms, tender. Just tear it apart like that. You don't have to chop it. It comes apart by itself. Great for pasta, great for noodles because it's kind of long and it has a long texture to it. Okay, let me stir it a little bit. I smell browning at the bottom. You don't want it to burn. Okay. Tear it out and just put it in. As much as you want. I'm going to put all of it just because it looks so fresh and nice. Okay, and it seems to be drying out because the mushrooms are absorbing the oil. So I'm going to add a little bit more oil there so that everything cooks well and doesn't burn at the bottom. Okay, almost done. One more left. Okay, that's it. So add a little bit more oil because the mushrooms have taken up all the oil. Okay, and again, it's a lot of noodles, so don't worry. Right, you can see some of the chicken is beginning to brown here. That's what you want. Just a little bit of browning. Not so much as you would do if you were doing a European style braise, but just a little bit of browning because that will flavor the broth that will kind of cook the noodles. Okay. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of white pepper. I always like to add white or black pepper when you're doing the sauteing because it does toast in the oil, which gives it a nice flavor. Only time I wouldn't put any white pepper is if you were kind of doing a soup, because then if it boils, I would say more than an hour, then there can be off flavors. Okay, so that's where we are. I'm going to add some water. Super simple, like I said. And you add a lot of water because you're actually going to be cooking the pasta, not pasta, but noodles inside this liquid. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. It actually doesn't have a lot of soy sauce or oyster sauce flavor. It's just very simple salt. Okay, so we're going to let this come to a boil and then we'll simmer it and we'll be back. Alright, okay, it's been about 10 minutes since it came up to a boil and simmered. So we're going to check on it. This is how it looks like, right? And also a good chance to taste it, right? A little bit of salt. So salted it is. Now, it's a good chance to add. So this is like a choy sum vegetable. I'm adding the root part first. The leafy parts are still here, right? We'll do that later as we're finishing the dish. But this needs a little bit more cooking, so I'm going to put them in. Turn up the heat when you're adding ingredients. Stir that in. Now, Noodles. This is what I bought. It's called Shanghainese Noodles. Traditionally, I would have to actually make my own noodles. It's just flour and water and salt. Very simple, rustic noodles, but that will take a while. So I went out to look for what noodles are similar, and this I found to be most similar is this flour and water and salt. You don't want fancy egg noodles or anything like that. You want it to look as rustic as possible and fat, almost like a udon. Alright? So we're going to add the noodles in to the broth. Don't cook it separately. It's a very rustic dish. You actually want the starch or the flour to thicken the broth so it ends up being kind of thick and gooey and comforting. That's what you want. Okay? You can even break it apart because it doesn't have to be long like what you may have been told. At least for this dish, traditionally it's actually only this long. Okay? So break it apart if you have to, cut it short if you have to. I'm adding it in now. I'm tearing it. Okay? Now mix it in. Obviously this is going to absorb a lot of moisture, and that's why I'm boiling more water. Okay, stir it in. You want it to be quite wet. It will dry up as the noodle cooks. Have boiled water ready to add so it doesn't burn, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes. I'll show you the final dish. Alright, so it's been about 10 minutes or so. Here's how it looks like. It's been stewing on low. Okay, stir it once a while. You don't want it to burn at the bottom, right? So you want something like a stew, sticky consistency. It's almost done, so I'm going to add in the rest of the vegetables. Okay, maybe a little bit more water because I don't want it again to burn at the bottom. This is boiling water, so you just keep everything. I'm going to turn up the heat. Now this is when you add a little bit of soy or soy sauce, high quality soy sauce, just to kind of finish it, but you don't want to add too much where it turns dark. I'm also going to add more white pepper, again to finish, because it tastes different if you cook it down or if you basically add it at the end. Okay, I'm just looking to cook the vegetables down. Noodles are already cooked. You're not looking for an al dente texture. You actually want it to be fully cooked and pretty soft and mushy, you know, so the kids love this dish. Okay, vegetables are going down. Now, as that happens, you do have to finish it on your plate with a chili paste, and I recommend this chili garlic sauce. Traditionally, it's just going to be crushed chili, but this simulates the kind of flavor that you want, right? So the vegetables are wilting down. I like it pretty fresh, so I'm not going to overcook the vegetables. I'm going to turn it down. And this is done, right? I'm going to do a little taste. Right? A little bit of chicken, vegetables. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of the chili, right? And all I do is you just dab it on, as spicy as you want it. Mix it in, and it should be saucy and thick like that, right? And give it a taste. See how it tastes like, right? Tastes like childhood. So, try it out. This is a traditional Kien-Yang noodle, and I hope you like it. Thanks, bye.